Welcome back, everyone. Another mess of local teams heading to the NCAA tournament. The routes are a bit convoluted, the routes are a bit lengthy, but at least they're part of the journey starting this week. For the Xavier Musketeers, they're involved in the play-in game in Dayton. Tuesday night, that's when the Musketeers will get a chance to meet North Carolina State.
We've recruited a lot of the kids that are on their team, maybe, some a little bit harder than others. And we know, obviously, their coaching staff. Coach Lutz was at Charlotte and Rob Moxley, so who's no longer there. But we just have a very, very strong familiarity. But I can't tell you that I know everything that NC State runs or how they play this year. And again, that's what the next few hours are for.
Again, that game will tip off 9:10 Tuesday night at UD Arena. Probably it's going to be a little later than that if history is any gauge. So Xavier starts its quest through the Gem City. The UC Bearcats begin their play in the Lilac City at Spokane, Washington. A few time zones to the west of us. The Bearcats are going to play Harvard Thursday afternoon. Mick Cronin was asked tonight about how his team feels about itself.
They're excited. They just went 27-6. They had the best year that anybody's had around here since 2002. They're extremely excited, and they should be proud of what they accomplished. But I can tell you that there's a sense of urgency because we have such good seniors, that they want to win. They want to keep playing.
Kentucky's going to play in St. Louis against Kansas State. Louisville's in Orlando against Manhattan, while Ohio State's in Buffalo against the Dayton Flyers. What do you think about the seedings, the locations, the pairings? Were the Bearcats and Musketeers treated fairly today? 749-9999 is how you can be part of the conversation tonight. Okay, let's get back to our brackets, and now we shift to the Midwest. That will eventually land 4 teams in Indianapolis. Wichita State, undefeated Wichita State, the top of the bracket. Michigan is number 2. You see Kentucky there against Kansas State. Louisville's there. Xavier might get there if they can win on Tuesday night. Okay, guys, Scotty, why don't we start with you on this one?
Well, the whole draw that Kentucky has is pretty interesting. Kansas State's certainly a good team. They have beaten 6 top 25 teams. They've played 14 teams throughout the year who are actually in the tournament. But with that, I think that's a game that Kentucky can easily beat and move on. And of all the other number 1 seeds, I would think that I would rather play Wichita State than any of the other number 1 seeds. So I think Kentucky overall in this bracket, even though they went in as an 8 or 9, which is a tough seeding, I think that that they fare pretty well in those first 2 games.
Yeah, I like this bracket. The tough thing for me is that Wichita State I don't think will survive in Indianapolis. Mm-hmm. If you get Kentucky or Louisville in Indianapolis, it's going to be Indianapolis will turn into Card City or turn into Blue Heaven. And then Xavier, I got Xavier going all the way in against Louisville in the round 3. I got Iowa winning the play-in game in this as well, and then playing Duke. And don't sleep on Iowa. Mm-hmm. Iowa was a team that was leading the Big Ten for a long period of time and then had a slippage middle of the year and got into the tournament and got in a low seed, but they can play. And they're tournament tested. They had a great tournament down to Battle for Atlantis. Had a real good tournament down there. You got Duke, who's there. But, I like Michigan and Louisville in the finals and that, and then I like Michigan coming out of the Midwest.
The only upset, I think, in the second round is the Wichita UK. I think, first of all, I think Wichita's going to beat UK. That's the upset, even though they're the number 1 seed. Mm-hmm. I think if Wichita plays with the swag.
You just know it's going to be upsetting to certain
yes.
people.
Yeah, well, I think if Wichita State plays with the swag that they had last year, and if they play with the mindset that they are the number 1 seed and they are the dog that's hunted. It's different when you're hunting. But when you're the dog that's hunted, you can use that chip on your shoulder to say, okay, people are disrespecting us. They don't think we're going to be good. We don't know which UK team is going to show up. The team that showed up today, I don't think Wichita State can win it. However, Wichita State, I believe, 1 through 10 is just as good as any team in the country. But I think when they run into Louisville, lights out.
Yeah, in the Midwest overall, really from top to bottom, is probably the toughest.
Louisville coming out of that bracket.
Yeah, and Louisville being in Indianapolis, you remember last year, that's where they made their run last year.
That's right.
And I just think that's going to be tough to beat Louisville or Kentucky. If Kentucky upsets Wichita State and gets there, a Louisville-Kentucky matchup in Indianapolis, wow.
There won't be nobody there. Huh?
No.
Let's go back to the phones. Reese on the line. Hey, Reese, you're on Meyer Sports of All Sorts.
Oh, thank Thank you very much. Good evening.
Hi.
You know what? I'm going to just preface this by saying I'm a UC alum. And even before the brackets were announced, I told the people that I was sitting with that they were going to ship UC off to West Bufu, and we weren't going to be able to see them. And lo and behold, we're in Spokane. I can't even remember the last time that Cincinnati was close enough, but yet people complain that Cincinnati doesn't travel. Well, it's difficult when you have to go across the country to see your team. And even ending up, even if we make it through, we won't end up again in Indianapolis. And so anyway, I just had a problem with that. I thought the seating was fair. I thought they would be seated about 5, but I think Louisville should have been seated a little bit higher. And that's about all I got. I agree. I mean, I don't think that.
Yeah.
But the one question I do have, I thought that I had heard that the NCAA tournament selection team was going to stop. They were going to try to stop doing that. They were going to try to have the higher seeds closer to home. But it never seems to work out well for Cincinnati.
Yeah, and they really started to do that years ago. But sometimes I think it's unavoidable. But you're gonna tick off anybody they send out. I'm sure Tom Izzo's not real happy tonight.
Well, you would think of 2008. They started when the economy was crashing, and they just said, we're gonna leave teams regionalized. We'll keep them local. That lasted about a year or two. Mm-hmm. Now it goes back to what they need to do is put an economist on that selection committee. Somebody that says this doesn't make financial sense for us to send a team way out there when this team only averaged this much attendance. Because I talked to the CFO at UC for the athletic department, and his kids go to our school, go to the same school. It's going to cost a lot of money to send that team out there. It's going to cost a lot of money if they bring the cheerleaders and all the stuff they got to travel out there. And you don't make a lot of money in those first couple of rounds. So sometimes you actually lose money. And if you don't go to the Final Four, you don't recoup a lot of that money. Now the pool of having 4 teams in the tournament, you kind of share some of that money, but Louisville gets the bulk share of that because as returning champions, they're probably going to make the deepest run.
Well, the NCAA should just defray about 5 jumbo jets and let any team that has to go there, they handle the costs and let the players go out. That's all. Hey, I got to get to a break. More coming up with Scott, Ralph, and Terry. This is the Selection Sunday edition of Meyer Sports of All Sorts. Right now,